The story of the United States begins long before the arrival of Europeans. For thousands of years, diverse indigenous cultures thrived across the North American continent. These first Americans developed complex societies, rich traditions, and a deep connection to the land. In the Southwest, the ancestral Puebloans built remarkable cliff dwellings and mastered desert agriculture. The Mississippian culture, centered in the Mississippi River Valley, created vast urban centers and intricate trade networks. Along the Atlantic coast, woodland tribes like the Powhatan and the Iroquois Confederacy developed sophisticated political systems and engaged in trade and diplomacy. These indigenous societies were not monolithic. They had their own languages, beliefs, and ways of life. However, they were united by their adaptation to the diverse environments of North America and their contributions to the continent's rich tapestry of cultures. Their story is an integral part of understanding the history of the United States. The arrival of Europeans in the late 15th century dramatically altered the course of Native American history. European diseases decimated indigenous populations, and colonization efforts led to displacement, conflict, and the tragic erosion of Native American cultures. Yet despite these hardships, Native American tribes demonstrated resilience and continued to shape the destiny of the nation that would rise on their ancestral lands. The European encounter with the Americas began with Christopher Columbus's voyages in 1492. Columbus, an Italian navigator sailing under the Spanish flag, embarked on a journey that would forever change the course of history. Seeking a western sea route to Asia, Columbus landed in the Caribbean, mistakenly believing he had reached the East Indies. This misidentification led to the term Indians being used to describe the native peoples he encountered. This discovery marked the beginning of European exploration and colonization of the Americas. The promise of new lands and untold riches spurred many European nations to send their own explorers across the Atlantic. Spain quickly established a dominant presence in the Caribbean, Central America, and South America, driven by the search for gold and the desire to spread Christianity. Spanish conquistadors such as Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro conquered vast empires and claimed enormous wealth for Spain. Other European powers, including Portugal, France, and England, soon followed, establishing colonies and vying for control of this new world. Each nation sought to expand its influence and secure valuable resources. England's colonization efforts focused on the eastern coast of North America. The English were motivated by a combination of economic opportunity, religious freedom, and the desire to expand their empire. The first permanent English settlement was established at Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. This settlement marked the beginning of a new chapter in English colonization. The colonists faced numerous hardships, including disease, starvation, and conflict with Native Americans. Despite these challenges, they managed to survive and eventually thrive. However, the colony persevered, fueled by tobacco cultivation and the arrival of new settlers. Tobacco quickly became a lucrative cash crop, attracting more settlers and investment. Over the next century, 13 colonies were established along the Atlantic seaboard. These colonies would eventually form the foundation of the United States. Each colony developed its own distinct identity and economy. The diversity of the colonies reflected the varied motivations and backgrounds of their settlers. New England colonies like Massachusetts and Connecticut were characterized by small farms, fishing, and a strong Puritan religious influence. The Puritans sought to create a city upon a hill, a model of religious virtue and community. The middle colonies, including New York and Pennsylvania, were more diverse with a mix of agriculture, trade, and religious tolerance. These colonies became melting pots of different cultures and beliefs. The southern colonies, such as Virginia and the Carolinas, developed plantation economies reliant on enslaved African labor for the production of cash crops like tobacco, rice, and indigo. This system created a stark social hierarchy and had lasting impacts on the region's development. By the mid-18th century, a distinct American identity had emerged in the 13 colonies. This identity was shaped by a unique blend of European traditions and the new experiences of life in the American wilderness. The colonists had developed their own customs, social structures, and ways of life that were increasingly different from those in Britain. Colonists, though still British subjects, had grown accustomed to a degree of self-government and economic independence. Town meetings and colonial assemblies allowed them to make decisions about local matters, fostering a sense of autonomy and self-reliance. The bustling markets and thriving trade networks further contributed to their economic independence. However, tensions with Great Britain began to escalate following the French and Indian War, which spanned from 1754 to 1763. This conflict, also known as the 7 Years' War, was a global struggle that had significant repercussions in North America. The war, which pitted Britain and its American colonies against France and its Native American allies, resulted in a costly British victory and a vast expansion of British territory in North America. The British gained control of Canada and Florida, but the war left Britain with a massive debt. To finance this expanded empire and recoup war debts, the British Parliament implemented a series of taxes and regulations on the colonies, including the Stamp Act